Hi everyone and welcome to our special March webinar series in honor of International Women's Day and Women's History Month. My name is Miriam Zaidi and I'm the Girls Action Foundation Communications Coordinator. In a couple of minutes, I'll be passing the mic to Lisa OLMSTEAD. We're very fortunate to have her with us today. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. For those of you who are new to our webinar series, I wanted to briefly introduce you to Girls Action Foundation before passing things along to Lisa. Very quickly, Girls Action Foundation is a national nonprofit that works to empower girls. We are based in Montreal, where we run local girls programs, and we work with some 250 partners across the country who run their own girls programs. We also provide leadership training, organize networking events, and do other things that connect girls and young women. In terms of impact, nationally, we reach about 60,000 girls and young women located in remote, marginalized, and urban communities, including the North. As I mentioned, this webinar is presented as part of our special March webinar series. In honor of International Women's Day and Women's History Month, every Thursday at noon, Girls Action offers a webinar that addresses young women issues. This series is meant to inspire young women all across Canada. Lisa OLMSTEAD is one of our presenters for this series. Just before introducing her, I'd like to walk you through the interactive side of today's webinar. You'll see on your screen a number of different information displays and panels that will be changing throughout the presentation. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a window titled Q&A. Here is where you can ask questions and interact with myself and other participants. If you have a question or comment during the presentation, type it into the Q&A box, hit enter, and it will be recorded there. By default, the question will be visible to everyone. If you would prefer to submit your question privately, click on the down arrow at the bottom of the Q&A box and select my name, Miriam Zaidi, instead of all participants. The question will then come to only me. After Lisa speaks, we will be opening the Q&A period to answer all of your questions. As the moderator, I'll be keeping track of everything that has been asked in the Q&A box and direct them to Lisa during the Q&A period. I also wanted to let you know that today's webinar is being recorded, including the question period. This will be posted online. I'll send everyone a link to the recording in a few days. With that covered, I'd like to introduce Lisa. Lisa OLMSTEAD is the Education Manager of the Rogers Raising the Grade program at the Boys and Girls Club of Dawson Community Center. She received a BA degree with a specialization in leisure studies and a minor in economics from Concordia University. Lisa began her career in youth development in Worcester, Massachusetts in the United States. First as a program training specialist for Girl Scouts of America, and then as a director of youth programs for Girls Incorporated. After a successful 8 years, Lisa moved back to her hometown of Montreal, where she has dedicated her time and efforts into seeing many at-risk youth become successful young adults. Over the last 20 years, Lisa has been involved professionally and through volunteering in the youth development field. Her greatest accomplishments have been exposing at-risk youth to international travel, program, and leadership opportunities at the National Boys and Girls Club, and mentoring youth and adults alike to see the potential in young people and to be advocates to give youth a voice. Please wait a few seconds while I pass the mic to Lisa.
Hi, and thank you to Girls Action Foundation for giving me this wonderful opportunity. As mentioned in my bio, I am currently the Education Manager for the Rogers Raising the Grade program. It's an academic success program here at the Boys and Girls Club of Dawson Community Center in Verdun, Quebec. I have been working with youth at risk for several years now, and I'm happy to share with you today my experiences in youth development and some successful programs we offer here at our club or our center. I might alternate between the two words, club or center. So without further ado, We'll go to the next slide. And what I'd like to do is just start by going over an overview of what we are going to talk about in the webinar today. So first, I'd like to start at the bottom with a definition of youth engagement. It's important to be clear about what we're defining it to be. Then we're going to talk about some youth engagement strategies. And then talk about some partnerships that we have here at our club, examples of what programs have come from these partnerships. Leading on to outcomes, this will give us a clearer understanding about the direction that we want to go into when we're talking about youth engagement and school success. And then a little time talking about a school success program that we are running here out of our club for the last 2 years. So, youth engagement, the definition. If you research online, the most popular definition that you're going to find is more than likely from the Center of Excellence for Youth Engagement. Youth engagement is the meaningful participation and sustained involvement of a young person in an activity that has a focus outside the individual. So what exactly does that mean? If we just sort of take the gut of that definition, what you will see is what the definition that we here at the club tend to use is a little bit simpler and very to the point. Youth engagement is an action adults intentionally support and youth intentionally choose. So let's start by understanding the youth and how we have our youth get involved or engaged into our center. So first and foremost, we need to provide a youth-friendly environment. We need to provide a space for the youth. You can include music, you can include food, interesting programs, activities, something that's going to spark an interest or an attraction to your center, and engaging adult staff. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the engaging adult staff a little bit later on in the presentation. The next, providing opportunities for youth to have a voice. Youth have a lot to say. They need to be able to express themselves. They need to feel that they're expressing themselves. Also, reputation, just like in pretty much anything, any business, any organization, any club, any company, reputation goes a long way. If you have successfully engaged youth and and these youth have had positive experiences, then word of mouth is such a precious entity and commodity and strategy. And in our experience, it's been the most effective in this area. A youth having a good experience, they're going to go out and tell their friends, and they're going to encourage their friends to come and check out the center. And lastly, a personal interest. So youth most often may not admit that they have a particular interest or passion in an activity or a hobby or some form of skill development, but they come to the center. So it's our responsibility and our job to find out and to bring out from that youth what it is that they are passionate about, what it is that they are most interested in, and to build upon that. So what keeps the youth coming to the center? What keeps them participating in your programs? So again, environment, it's youth-friendly, it's supportive, and it's safe. That the youth, to keep in mind that they are under construction. They are developing every day, and they are in the stage of trying new things. And when you're trying something new, you want an environment that is secure and safe and friendly and supportive. And having an ownership or feeling an ownership over what they're experiencing is a very powerful tool. Second, providing youth the opportunity to have a voice, again, they have a lot to say. They want to talk. They want people to listen. They most often what they're saying is very, very deep, very thought-provoking, and very interesting. So having activities and programs where they have that opportunity to speak about what is going on, what's affecting them, taking on leadership roles, being involved in community events. The more often that you provide youth having a voice, the better you're able to provide programming and activities that serve to their needs and their wants and interests. Third, giving youth the opportunity to personally grow and develop skills. So I put employment opportunities and professional development because really what we're doing is we are teaching them transferable skills. We're teaching them how to be engaging youth, how to develop their leadership skills, how to communicate with people, how to put what they're thinking and be able to work that process through. And all of that is all transferable skills, so that when they do go and venture into the employment world, they're able to rely on those skills that were taught and they experienced through their time at your center. Next is recognition. Youth who are recognized for their efforts, recognized for their achievements, are more than likely going to come back. They're going to look for that recognition. They're going to look for that pat on the back, that smile, that simple good for you. A lot of times the youth, unfortunately, don't get as much recognition, let's say at home, or the schools are so inundated with the class sizes being bigger, special needs students being integrated into the classrooms. So any time that there is a chance to give a youth the recognition for their positive efforts and achievements, the better that the more likely that the youth will come to your center. Obviously, incentives keep them motivated, instant rewards, food, movie passes, gift cards, anything that sort of just satisfies their basic needs, and that's that instant gratification, that instant reward, that instant motivation. Being accessible financially with your operating hours. The youth, they have school during the day. They have other, commitments, whether it's sports, whether it's other interests or hobbies at the school, after school. Being open later in the afternoon, later in the evening, just gives you a better chance to attract the youth to come to your center and discourage the youth from running the streets. We often say that the youth who are on the streets late at night or in the evening, there are no consequences. There are no barriers. There's nobody there to have them to supervise them, to have them be responsible for their actions. So the more places, the more centers, the more organizations that could extend their hours to be open to satisfy to keep the youth, especially youth at risk, off the streets and in a more controlled environment, then the better that the more successful that the youth develop throughout their time at your center. And accessible financially, our experience is at the center that we have here is that most often the families cannot afford a lot to spend on their youth to participate in a particular program or be at like for membership. So we try to keep the costs very low, very minimal, and anytime that we do have to incur a cost, We generally try to put it in a time when the family will more often, have a family allowance check that has come through, or some form of income that has come in, so that the odds are that they would invest a little bit of money into their youth involvement at the center. And the last one is to make sure that absolutely your resources are up to date. So for here in our center, our computer room, our technology, all of those resources are, up to date. They're current. The computers can hold some of the current programs, some of the current games, some of the current ways of or forms of social media. Your sports equipment here, it has to be current, it has to be up to date. And for here at our center, a big thing is food. And so our cooking supplies, our kitchen, our, the areas in which you offer your programs are up to date and welcoming. So the last thing, which I tend to like to separate a little bit from the big list, is that, and what we find here is what we consider is to be a very important part of a youth engagement strategy, is having supportive and engaged adults. So if you have adults that don't tend to want to spend the time to listen to what a youth is having to say, or is not respecting the youth as the way that they should be, in our opinion, then more than likely it doesn't provide a good environment or a friendly environment for the youth. The youth will feel that, and they won't tend to come to your center. So for us, we have adults that definitely follow the next 5 points, because we hold that very important. So the adults, they respect the youth. They command respect, they demand respect, and they teach respect. So if a youth is coming in and is being disrespectful in whatever way, the adults will then help the youth to understand the importance of respect. And it doesn't mean that the adult will stop respecting them. It'll mean that the adult will teach them that respect is earned, respect is it's given both ways, and that we're working here together to learn this. Acting as positive role models. So it's pretty self-explanatory. What I tend to instruct the staff here, the adults who work with the youth, is that you don't ask or say something to the youth that you wouldn't ask or say something to yourself. So encouraging them to, constantly move forward, encouraging them to see the more positive side of a situation, but learning from, what the consequences of a certain situation, or learning from, the challenges of whatever situation has presented. So, so again, it's being role models. The youth are seeing and hearing and doing exactly what the adults are doing. So to always keep that in mind. Knowing that learning occurs both ways, so that it's always, every day, I always ask my staff, what did you learn from the youth today? Because that continuous learning, that constant learning, that constant openness to knowing that a youth knows a youth best, and a youth can teach us as adults what exactly their needs are, what exactly their interests are, and that's how we learn how to help serve them better, help to develop their skills better. To be active, participatory, and professional. So at all times, being with them, playing the games with them, learning with them, going through a problem with them, listening to them. It's always, you're active, you're participating, you're listening, you're respecting, you're learning at the same time. And again, I can't stress it enough, is, listening to the youth and advocating for the youth. So I asked one of the youth that I have in my program to draw for me what they thought an engaged youth would look like. So let's say that we have successfully brought them to the center, and then we have successfully kept them at the center. What do the youth look like once they're engaged, once they've been participating in your programs? So this is what my youth had come up with, and so if you take the time to really look at this picture, it's an amazing picture. It's deep, it's very artistic, and it really represents what we look for or what we strive for youth engagement. So once a youth is engaged, then the typical results, the typical impacts that come from this engagement is that they feel that their voices are heard. They can become more physically active. They participate in sports. They participate in outdoor activities that they may not have if they didn't come to your center. They have better experiences and have better adult-mentor relations. We, unfortunately, in this neighborhood, we tend to have a lot of adults who think very poorly of the youth that frequent our center. So the youth who come to our center know that we advocate for them, and we try to educate the other adults in the community that the youth that frequent our center, the youth that are in the community, are not all ones that are going to be violent or being they have that show any form of risk behavior. They're not what we'd say hoodlums. So what the youth are experiencing when they come here is that they're experiencing adults who believe in them, who respect them, and who know that they're there for them. We encourage the youth, and the youth who are engaged in our programs become engaged citizens in the community. So for as much as we advocate for the youth, we encourage the youth to advocate within the community by participating in community events and showing that the community that they are involved and invested in the community that their center is in or where they live. We see a decrease in risky violent behaviors. We see that the youth are starting to make better choices, more positive choices, healthier choices. There's a certain element of personal growth, and that is dependent on each youth. So it could be that you see their self-esteem increasing, you see that their self-confidence is increasing. You see even here at the center, we're a bilingual center, an introduction or starting to feel confident or more comfortable speaking a second language. The youth are feeling more comfortable, they're feeling safe, they're feeling respected. That's always something that to be mindful of and to be careful of. You see that they're gaining some skills. You're seeing progress. You're seeing that they're more socially involved. So, youth who never, spoke to other youth, let's say at school, because one was from the part of the jocks or the highly involved in sports, and the other ones are more involved in the clubs or the more studious programs. They tend to come together at the center and know that it's an open valued and comfortable environment where it doesn't matter what your background is that you're all equal, and and we encourage all the youth to participate together. So you see that they become they take that next step, and once they feel comfortable with that inside the center, they tend to bring it out of the center, and you see groupings of individuals who never would have socialized together before start to do that. And you also see a positive school performance. So, and we'll talk a little bit later on about what that means, positive school performance. So at this point, what have we learned so far? That youth engagement requires intentional actions from adults and intentional choices from youth. That's our definition. How to get the youth interested in coming to your activities or programs or your space. How to keep them interested, and what an engaged youth looks like. So what's the next step in the engagement process? So what we as a community organization, we strive to continuously develop on programs and develop sustainability for programs and areas of growth. So for us, community involvement is a large part of this process. We look for partners, community organizations who share the same youth-based goals and would lead opportunities or work with us to lead opportunities for growth and sustainability. So who are our partners? As the Boys and Girls Club of Dawson Community Center, obviously one of our big partners is the Boys and Girls Clubs of Canada. So out of that partnership, there are 4 programs that I'd like to just speak briefly about. One is called the Get Busy Cool Moves Crew. So Get Busy is the actual program name, and Cool Moves Crew is what has come as a sort of a tangent from that. So basically, Get Busy is a program that promotes youth to make positive choices, make healthy choices, and learning about nutrition and becoming a little bit more well balanced in their choices and in their diet, the food intake. So from that, what has come is a leadership opportunity, which is the Cool Moves Crew. So the older youth who may have gone through the Get Busy program or who want to develop a little bit more on their leadership skills, they take on that leader role and they work with the younger youth in the Get Busy program to lead the activities, to go through the activities, to learn with the younger youth the activities, and to be mentors and really get a sense of what it is to be a leader and to be a mentor. And at the same time, they're developing skills, again, transferable skills that eventually when they start going into the looking for jobs, they could list that as an employable skill. We also participate in youth conferences, which is hosted. It's hosted by the national office of the Boys and Girls Club of Canada. They happen every 2 years, and that gives the youth who are selected from each club the opportunity to get together with other like-minded youth across Canada to let them talk, to let them participate, to let them get a sense as to what it is to be a youth, to represent a youth, and to have their voices heard about issues or anything, challenges that they are feeling that that the adults or the programs that could be developed at the national level around needs or skills that they would like to learn. Also, again, as a tangent to that, the ones who not only is it hosted by the national office of the Boys and Girls Club of Canada, but they also work with the National Youth Council, which are youth representatives from across country who are chosen to represent the youth of Canada who help to plan. Who help to plan these youth conferences and help to plan the content and sort of the from A to Z of the experience. The World According to Us is again a national program. It's definitely a program that we would consider giving youth a voice. It incorporates surveys, blogging, tweeting, newsletters, YouTube, Facebook, so all the sort of social media tech ways of communicating with youth. That's what the World According to Us uses. In addition to that, they worked with the Boys and Girls Club of Canada to put on a day. It was called Youth on the Hill, and it happened at Parliament, the Parliament offices, and it was a job shadowing / having the leaders of the different political parties giving a chance for the youth to talk to them and to giving their input on certain issues that were being spoken about. And to promote post-secondary education and school success, there's a lot of educational scholarships opportunities that come through where members of our center or members of the Boys and Girls Club of Canada could apply to help them to achieve their post-secondary education. The next one is Equitas, and Equitas is an international center for human rights education. We've been working with them for several years now, and we started with collaborating with them on their Play It Fair program. And Play It Fair program is a human rights education. It promotes human rights education through play. So they offered to train our staff and then in turn and provide a program and resources that our staff then could use with the youth, and it's been an extremely successful program. And we also have some of our staff now who train other staff members from other organizations about the program. Building on top of that is another more recent endeavor with Equitas, and it's called the Young Women, Young Leader program. And it's bringing young women and their adult role models, more specifically their female adult role models, together, and they get to meet other like-minded young women and young adult women where they can discuss and address issues that affect them the most in their daily lives. They can build their confidence and leadership skills, and they can use their creativity to act for change in their community. So it's definitely, right now they're in the process of trying to finalize a direction, a project direction, and but they first started with a gathering, and where they had the youth had their mentors attend, and it was a very empowering, very uplifting evening, and then now, like I said, they're in the process of finalizing their next project idea. And then sort of on the flip side to the Young Women, Young Leader is a boys group called Between Us Boys. And again, it's a speaking rights project, somewhat running along the same lines as the Young Women, Young Leaders group. And it's, again, working off of the basic Play It Fair idea, and having the boys have a chance to speak their mind and give them a voice. We also have a very continuous partnership with McGill University. A big one is their community nursing program, and it's the community nursing program encourages the students in that program to, when they're, studying to be a nurse, is that it's important to know about community and learn about community. So they most often will be placed in internships and stages at our center. And we've had students in the nursing program who have spoke about the school dropout rate and school issues. We've had some who have spoken with the senior population talking about health and nutrition. We've had some of the students work with the Get Busy and Cool Moves crew and teach them first aid and nutrition workshops. So it really is a very community-oriented program and a very community-oriented partnership. And the most recent is through the business and education departments is a program that's called the LIFE program, and that is a school success. It's integrating a business model with a social need, and they labeled the social need as school success, or the dropout rate especially in the Montreal. And I'll speak a little bit later about that one because that is incorporating a new mentor recruitment strategy. And then in Verdun, the community of Verdun, we have what's called community tables, and representatives from different organizations in the community are encouraged to attend these community tables, which happen once every about 6 weeks. They meet, and there's different tables for different like for youth, for senior population, for different populations. So we have representatives that sit on the 2 youth tables, the 6 to 17-year-olds, and then the 17 to 30-year-olds. So just a little thing about the 6 to 17-year-olds. What they've most recently been working on was bullying activities and trying to merge the Francophone and Anglophone community together to work on common issues and common needs in the community. And then the 17 to 30-year-old table, they are focusing on getting the youth to be more involved in the community, and they also have targeted returning to school initiatives as being one of their priorities. And then finally, there's the Anglo Family Council. What the Anglo Family Council is, it represents the Anglophone community or the English-speaking community in Verdun, and trying to fill in where there's service gaps or where there's needs from this community. So most recently, actually it was yesterday, there was a big meeting at the City Hall to talk about youth at risk. It was designed to learn about what services are available for a particular population of youth and where the gaps are, and then how could we as a community work together to fill those gaps and provide more services for this youth. So always when we're developing our programs and thinking about how to move forward, we always need to consider our outcomes. And I've put in bold the successful youth engagement practices and programs not only requires time and commitment, but an adults invested in youth and their development, but an understanding of the short and long-term effects or the outcomes that will occur. So it's really like a roadmap. It's knowing, what are our strategies, our development, and getting a sense as to what we would like the results to happen, what kind of results that we would like to see happen. And then, of course, once you have developed your outcomes, then that leads to your evaluation, and you constantly develop upon. It's like a very thought-provoking cycle, and you're developing your ideas further. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, just simply because it's pretty self-explanatory. Um, it's adapted from the Model for Success outcomes model from the Boys and Girls Club of Canada, and just simply to say that to always keep in mind that if your short-term outcomes are not, they're very dependent. Your other outcomes are very dependent on your short-term outcomes. So if your short-term outcomes are not being achieved, then obviously your midterm to your long-term outcomes will not necessarily happen. So the last part of my presentation is a school success program that I feel is a very good example of successful youth engagement strategies, community partnerships, and positive youth outcomes. And it's called Rogers Raising the Grade. So I don't know if you've already noticed on the slide presentation where you see Rogers Raising the Grade and Rogers Youth Fund. So briefly, what happened is that the Rogers Corporation decided that they wanted to give back to the community and to help to work for a social issue. So what they did was they partnered with the Boys and Girls Club of Canada to create the Rogers Youth Fund. And the Rogers Youth Fund, they decided that dropout rate in across Canada is something that they wanted to work on and work with the Boys and Girls Club to help to fight against this. So what they came up with is called Rogers Raising the Grade. And basically, it's an after-school program. It allows at-risk youth to do three things, three key elements to this program. They get academic support. So we have a tech center. It's state-of-the-art, has high-speed internet, has online resources. There's academic support, whether it's through tutoring, mentoring, homework help, and workshops. And there's scholarships, post-secondary scholarship education. So everything that we have spoken about in our youth engagement strategies follows in there. There's also an element of goal setting. They're learning about, post-secondary education, potential careers, things that they're interested in that they've never really thought about before. And then also interest building and using online resources, and learning some new things. So those who are interested in a sort of a diagram representation of the Rogers Raising the Grade, just to kind of briefly give an outline for this model. If you start at the bottom, the Rogers Tech Centers, that's our computer room, is really the foundation. That's what attracts the youth to the center. And then each stage, each level is built upon this foundation, and eventually the outcome is what we're hoping is to be school success. So we are in year 2 of Rogers Raising the Grade, and what have we learned so far? We definitely have learned that the definition of at-risk youth cannot be defined by poor academic performance. So there's many reasons why youth are not are dropping out of school. They're not having a positive experience in high school. So we have opened our membership to anyone who feels that they're in need of our program. Success is not just defined as an increase in a student's grade level. So what we found is success can be improving attendance at school, having a more positive attitude towards school and homework, adopting better study habits, improving organizational skills. The communication is better between the student, the teacher, the parent, the teacher, us. It's that very clear raising. It takes the village to raise a child phenomenon. And students are identifying potential career goals and speaking about post-secondary education. More than likely, the youth that have started with our program didn't really know where they wanted to go to other than what they were doing that particular day. Strong partnerships with the high schools are important. And which is not up here, but I would like to include is we've had challenges recruiting mentors. And just to speak a little bit about the LIFE program, which is through McGill University, the LIFE program is a group of students from My Vision McGill who they use a social, they identify a social issue, and then they use a business model to help to address the needs or the issue of this social challenge. So in this respect, what they have put together is a program called LIFE, Learning is for Everyone, and it would be providing affordable tutoring to all students at the high school. And in turn, the money that is collected from these tutoring engagements would then be reinvested into our center, into the Rogers Raising the Grade, to be used as incentives for mentors. Because we've been having difficulties and challenges in recruiting mentors, we feel that that might be a good incentive to have these mentors come and invest the time and get a little bit of a stipend at the same time. What factors have led to the success of Rogers Raising the Grade? There's a dedicated space. There's a tech center. It's youth-friendly. It's up to date. We have a wall of fame that shows the students' achievements. We have workstations. We're promoting peer-to-peer support. We have a dedicated team of staff that work with them. There's incentives, so obviously working with Rogers, there's a lot of tech prizes, e-readers, tablets, there's contests, there was a Disney trip, there's sports games, there's movie passes, post-secondary education scholarships. There's engaged adults, so again, a dedicated staff and volunteer team. We have very strong community partnerships. We are right now in the process of developing satellite sites to those areas who wouldn't come to us, so we'll go to them. And with the Rogers Regional Office establishing that connection there. And there's a constant ongoing evaluation with youth surveys, program reports. It's very youth-friendly, and it encourages the youth to speak about the program, speak what's working, what's not, the challenges, what they would like to see. And we're constantly updating and changing and evolving with the youth. So in conclusion, if you're not already invested in youth, then it's time to get engaged. Take action, give it purpose, make the experience meaningful, demonstrate genuine support, and most of all, be advocates for youth, but also empower youth to be their own advocates. So if you have any more questions or if you'd like to contact me further, I've included my email, rrtgdirector@dawson.ca. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for this very informative webinar. Thanks again. So I'm going to go ahead with the first question. You have worked in the U.S. with youth, and you also work, of course, in Canada. We were wondering if you could speak to us a little bit about the youth engagement movement, if there is one. So yeah, that's the first question.
The youth engagement movement from where?
Meaning,
the States or?
Yeah, and in Canada, like is there like a movement for at-risk youth, or for more youth engagement? What have you noticed? What has changed in the past few years, or are things picking up? Or yeah.
I have, to answer the first part, there is no specific youth engagement movement per se. It's every organization, every company adopts their best practices models, their best practices of ways of engaging youth. What I have seen over the years is definitely the youth are evolving. They're very informed. That's more likely the result of internet and having information, at their fingertips. However, they don't seem to be as able to process the information that is coming at them. So definitely that's one thing that we have changed here at our center, and it's to help the youth to process what information is coming at them, that they're being asked to learn or to talk about information that they may not necessarily understand at this point in their life. The other part that we have seen is that we have resorted back to teaching about basic skills. So that's respect, that's inclusion, that's communication face-to-face. Because of technology, we tend not to be as engaged face-to-face, but more engaged through our devices, through the internet. So we're trying to bring it back to real time rather than virtual. However, we also try to keep up with the virtual engagement and pull out especially with Rogers, is pulling out those online resources that we would never have been able to access if we didn't have that tech part to work with.
Thank you for your answer. The next question that we have is, how do you outreach to youth who are the hardest to reach, those who don't, walk through the door or who are excluded from the system?
The way that we have always tried to reach out to those youth is really to our reputation is a big thing in this community. So if we, if we provide a space where youth are feeling comfortable and respected and valued and safe, the word of mouth is our best recruitment. Our way of recruiting those youth. So just to know that you're not going to be able to recruit all the youth. However, you're, to recruit the most youth you can through that word of mouth, through having that good reputation of being advocates for youth, I think is the most powerful way of getting to those who you may not necessarily see coming to the door voluntarily.
Thank you very much for that answer. Our last question, because we don't have much time for more questions, is when youth leave the program, do they come back to volunteer, or would you have some stories to share of youth that went through your center? That would be our last question.
We have had over the years several youth who have reached the they've become young adults, and they start to venture off into the young adult world, and they come back. Or we have some younger youth who they go off on a tangent, they get connected with other youth that may not necessarily have good intentions, and then they come back. I've had youth who have come back to they get into some drugs, and they're coming down off of bad high, and they come here because they feel safe. I've had youth who come because they've been beaten up, they've been harassed by the police or somebody of authority, and they come back here because we were open and because we're safe. And I have youth who currently work for us in our youth programs because of the experiences that they have had, and it's been so positive that they want to give back and continue that cycle. So I guess the best answer to say is that when you're working in an environment like this, is to expect that the youth will always come back to you at some point or another, whether it's actually physically for an employment, if it's just for one time because they need you, or they just want to reconnect and start, if they're starting a new venture in their life, they will come back. So I think that we have had very positive experiences in that respect.
Wow, thank you very much, Lisa, for all your answers and for your very informative presentation and the inspiring work that you do and your center does with youth. Now I'll wrap up quickly. For those of you who would like to share this webinar with others, a link to the full presentation and question period will be available online in the next few days. I will be sending you a link on by email for where to find it. If you want to know more on today's topic, check out our resource center on our website with zines, guides, manuals on girls and leadership or jobs or getting involved. Yeah, check it out. We'd also like to ask for your feedback on today's presentation. So once you leave this webinar, a pop-up window will appear with a very short survey. We would really appreciate you to take the time to fill it out. This is a way to help us continue to improve the webinar experience for participants. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar is part of our special Women's History Month webinar series. Today's webinar was the third in our new March webinar series. You can find out more about our webinar series by going to Girls Action website. You can go to www.girlsactionfoundation.ca/webinars. I also invite you to contact me if you have any questions. My email is miriam@girlsactionfoundation.ca. Again, thank you for attending and have a great day, everyone.